Hello, my name is Mary Ann Dyer, and I'm Program Director of Adult Redeploy Illinois at the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority. I'm here today to provide technical assistance for the recently released Notice of Funding Opportunity for Adult Redeploy Illinois' Training Technical Assistance and Development Program. As we go through this session, there will be several acronyms, and here's a list of them. AF is Amplifund, or the Grant Management System for the state of Illinois, and this is the platform on which all applications will be submitted. ARI stands for Adult Redeploy Illinois. CRA stands for the Crime Reduction Act, which is legislation in 2009 that created Adult Redeploy Illinois. GATA, or GATA, stands for Grants Accountability and Transparency Act, which is legislation in 2014 that established processes and standards for the distribution of grant funds in the state. GMS stands for Grant Management System, or Amplifund, also known as Unigrants. ICJIA, or CJA, is the Criminal Justice Information Authority, where Adult Redeploy Illinois is housed, and this is a state agency created to improve the administration of justice through grants and research. NOFO stands for Notice of Funding Opportunity, and TTAD stands for Training, Technical Assistance, and Development. Today, we will talk a little bit about Adult Redeploy Illinois and our goals. We'll go over the Notice of Funding Opportunity and get into Amplifund a little bit to navigate through the application forms. We'll also talk about the review process and offer resources as you go through this process. So about Adult Redeploy Illinois. Adult Redeploy Illinois, as I mentioned, was created by the Crime Reduction Act of 2009 with the goal to increase local alternatives to incarceration. ARI is a state grant program administered by the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority and modeled on the successful Juvenile Redeploy Illinois program at the Illinois Department of Human Services. In pursuit of our work, we use performance incentive funding and justice reinvestment principles, and we strive to be as flexible a funding source as possible, focused on local control and design. We're also a mission-driven program. Our mission is to safely reduce prison use by building local systems that divert individuals from a prison sentence into more cost-effective programs that promote their reintegration into the community. ARI provides funding and technical assistance to Illinois communities to establish a continuum of sanctions and treatment alternatives that effectively address social determinants of crime and incarceration and that promote equity within the justice system. We have a vision of an equitable justice system that protects public safety and increases access to interventions, allowing people to avoid prison and lead productive lives in their communities. Our values are equity, inclusion, access, involvement, effectiveness, and innovation. Our goals are to invest in results-oriented local programs that rehabilitate individuals and prevent relapse and further future criminal behavior. We want to foster a strong, equitable community corrections system and support community-led justice efforts aligned with our mission, vision, and values. We also generate and collect evidence in support of decarceration. Our current network is comprised of 28 grantee sites around the state that cover 45 counties in rural, urban, and suburban areas, and that operate more than 60 prison diversion programs. So about the NOFO. The purpose of this funding opportunity is to identify and support an entity or entities that will provide grantees in the statewide ARI network with training, technical assistance, and professional development opportunities. We believe these services will expand our site capacity and effectiveness in delivering evidence-informed local supervision and services to clients in lieu of incarceration. This notice of funding opportunity supports strategic goals of ARI to build capacity for sustainability, innovation, and effective expansion, and to identify and replicate evidence-informed policies and practices across the state. Eligibility for this notice of funding opportunity is broadly defined as any public or private entity that can do business with the state of Illinois. Successful applicants must demonstrate experience conducting training and providing technical assistance, plus subject matter expertise in topics at the intersection of public safety and public health in the adult criminal legal system. The subject matter expertise can be at the entity as well as provided in collaboration with other entities through subcontracting agreements. The funds available in this NOFO is a total of $500,000 for one or more entities. The grants will range from $100,000 to the cap of $500,000, with an estimated number of awards 1 to 3. The award period will be the state fiscal year of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027, with the possibility of renewal for an additional 24 months based on satisfactory performance and adequate grant management. The timeline for this NOFO is that the NOFO and this technical assistance recording will be posted April 20th, 2026. Questions related to the notice of funding opportunity may be submitted, and public responses will be posted, but these questions must come in by May 14th, 2026. The application due date is 5 p.m. Central Standard Time on May 20th, 2026. And the Adult Redeploy Illinois Oversight Board will review and make the award decisions at their meeting June 2026. And again, the program period is July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. So we are looking for a TTAD program designed as comprehensive, responsive, and effective. Comprehensive in that it will have statewide reach. It will be multi-tiered in the network region and site level, cover a variety of topics, and be complementary to other TTAD efforts at the state and national level. There's responsive in that it will be guided by a gap analysis and be based on site and client where appropriate input. Effective, there must be ample evidence of through assessment and evaluation and a continuous feedback loop of participant satisfaction and a presentation of those findings to interested stakeholders, including our oversight board. There are 3 main buckets, and we'll go through these in greater detail next, of the program design: assess and collaborate, implement and evaluate, and measure and report. So assess and collaborate. Initially, TTAD providers will assess the landscape and identify gaps in needs, substance, and accessibility by contacting and working with other providers and consumers of training and technical assistance in the community corrections field. TTAD providers will collaborate with sites, clients as applicable and appropriate, and other providers. Applicants should describe how individuals with relevant lived experience will inform TTAD design, implementation, and feedback, or provide rationale if they are not included. Implement and evaluate. TTAD providers will offer TTAD at different levels to fully serve and meet the needs of all ARI sites over the course of the grant period, including at the network level through an annual all-site summit, regional trainings and workshops customized for sites and responsive to needs of areas in the state, as well at the site level with one-on-one technical assistance and coaching as needed. TTAD providers must offer at least one training or technical assistance deliverable each quarter, and applicants should describe the anticipated scale, frequency, and distribution of training and technical assistance activities that will be necessary to serve our statewide network, as well as how services will be prioritized according to need. Now, the topics that we anticipate will be included in any program design include but are not limited to the following, which have been raised by sites over the years: assessments and referrals, cognitive behavioral therapy, emerging adults, equity and justice, fidelity to evidence-informed practices, performance measurement and data analysis, program planning, development and implementation, recovery capital, restorative justice, strengths-based coaching, and trauma-informed practices. TTAD providers will employ a variety of training methods for adult learners, including experiential learning and across different platforms, in person, virtual, or hybrid, based on site preferences. They will design a TTAD plan to advance our mission, vision, and values. An applicant should describe how they will ensure equitable access to TTAD activities across geography, technology, disability accommodation, and other participation barriers. TTAD providers will establish a feedback loop to gather input from site stakeholders, community members, and clients, and evaluate changes in knowledge, behavior, and practices. Measure and report. TTAD providers will fulfill the CJA grant requirements related to performance measurement reporting and fiscal management. And they'll be prepared to report on progress and challenges, including through presentations to our oversight board. The TTAD providers will describe how performance measurement data will be collected, tracked, and reported in a consistent format over time. Where applicable, applicants should use standardized definitions, categories, and reporting structures to support CJA's ability to analyze results across sites and across time. The requirements of the TTAD program are listed here and include the needs assessment and gap analysis that should start off this process to identify where the TTAD provision can be most effectively provided. It will include a process to gather input from sites and clients on this design, as well as collaboration with site representatives through a training advisory group. There'll be an implementation schedule that will have at least one TTAD deliverable a quarter, and an annual training calendar must be posted online. Of course, there will be a listing of tools to assess and evaluate TTAD effectiveness, with changes in knowledge, behavior, and practices, as well as measuring site satisfaction, performance measurement around goals and objectives, progress reports to the oversight board and other stakeholders, and demonstration of sufficient organizational capacity to meet grant reporting mandates. Additional program requirements, as mentioned and described in the Notice of Funding Opportunity and Instructions, include our commitment to equity across racial, gender, geographic, and other lines, in order to provide equal access to the benefits of adult Redeploy Illinois, regardless of who you are or where you come from. The Crime Reduction Act requires that all ARI funds be invested in evidence-informed practices or practices that have been proven to work with the populations we serve. And we have a commitment to performance measurement and evaluation. So now, looking at AmpliFund, also known as unit grants, we'll go through actual grant management system briefly. So prior to the application process, there are pre-qualification steps which are listed here, including registering with the System for Award Management, or SAM, and applying for or updating the employer identification number. And then at the state level, completing registration in the grantee data portal, as well as obtaining a single sign-on for application submission in AmpliFund. All applicants must be in good standing to work with the state of Illinois, as well as with all GATA pre-qualification requirements. Now, CJA provides a wealth of resources on its YouTube channel as well as on its website that will help walk applications or applicants through the different parts of the process, including at the website, the grants tab, there's a training page and includes an overfund or an overview of Amplifund and step-by-step instructions. So this is what the Amplifund registration page looks like. It includes the grantee portal sign-in for GATA, Amplifund sign-in, and FAQs. So the application and review process. This is what the application will look like when you click on the link and find the public opportunity related to this funding source. So you'll see notice of funding opportunity number 2115-0426 for Adult Redeploy Illinois Training, Technical Assistance, and Development. And underneath that will be opportunity details, including just a number of instructions that will be useful and provide context to this notice of funding opportunity. If you look at the top right-hand corner, that's the apply button, and that will start you along your way. Before moving into the application, you can toggle over to evaluation scoring and look at how applications will be scored according to what we've discussed so far and the values of the program and what we are trying to accomplish specifically with this funding source. The evaluation scoring, this shows it in greater detail where the points are and how to earn the points. And this information is available in the notice of funding instructions available at the CEJA website, as well as in that evaluation tab in Amplifund. So this is a reminder that we want to share with you early and often, and it's that the Amplifund system will time out after 20 minutes of inactivity. So in order not to lose your work, make sure that you click on the Save and Continue button continually so that you can maintain progress with your application. A complete application is due by 5 p.m. Central Standard Time on May 20th, 2026. And this is what we expect to see in a complete application: the uniform state credit application, which will be completed in Amplifund, program narrative, which will be the application forms completed in Amplifund, as well as uploads, an implementation schedule, goals and performance metrics chart, and a budget and budget narrative using an Excel spreadsheet provided by CEJA. There's 7 application forms in Amplifund for this notice of funding opportunity, and they're listed here along with the point totals. Before we get into the program narrative, please note that you should answer all the questions and all individual parts of a question, and refer to the program requirements we talked about earlier, as well as they'll be in the notice of funding opportunity instructions, as well as the evaluation scoring to guide your application responses so that they'll be most responsive. And we expect all applicants and grantees to use person-centered language in their planning and implementation. Applicants are expected to use references to people, individuals, clients, and participants, and avoid using offenders, felons, or other stigmatizing language, because we want our language and our actions to support rehabilitation and reintegration goals. So the first form is the uniform grant application. Fill out every section in Amplifund, check the applicant certification, and mark as complete. The second is the summary of program, worth 10 points. You'll fill out the narrative section, keeping to a 5,000 character maximum. And this will have, the main parts of who you are and what you anticipate doing, as well as how much you expect it will cost. This summary will be a standalone document that will be used to describe each individual application to stakeholders. It'll include the applicant name and evidence of expertise in delivering training and technical assistance, a description of past successful projects, a proposed training curriculum, which we recognize may evolve over time, but to show the subject matter expertise that can be applied to the topics of interest, as well as methodologies that demonstrate a clear alignment with our mission, vision, and values, a strategy for obtaining that continuous feedback, and a methodology for assessing efficacy and overall satisfaction. As I said, it should also include a total proposed cost for the 12 months of the TTAD program. And then when you complete all this on the summary page, you'll mark that as complete. The third page is statement of the problem. It's worth 10 points, and you'll fill out the narrative section describing the process you'll undertake to assess the current landscape and identify gaps, and then the efforts you'll undertake to collaborate with other providers and gather input from sites to complement existing offerings. Once again, a reminder to save often because Amplifund will time out after 20 minutes of inactivity. Project implementation, this is the meat of the application. It's worth 40 points. You'll fill out all narrative sections, providing a detailed outline of the TTAD program worth 20 points. And this will also involve downloading, completing, and uploading an implementation schedule. Detail the ways in which sites will be consulted and how the proposed TTAD program will align with and advance ARI's mission. Also include a list of the types of assessment and evaluation tools and mark as complete. On this screen shows the implementation schedule that you will download, complete, and upload to that section. The next page is project management. It's worth 20 points. You'll fill out all narrative sections, providing a detailed account of your ability to develop and manage a TTAD program. Describe any proposed subcontractor partnerships you anticipate to ensure a comprehensive, responsive, and effective TTAD program, and describe your organizational capacity to implement the program. Then mark as complete. The sixth page is goals and performance metrics, and here you'll download, complete, and upload a goals and performance metrics table. You'll indicate how your objectives will be achieved and measured on this table, as well as demonstrate capacity and commitment to measuring and reporting on progress. And then you'll mark that as complete after you upload. Here is the form, the goals and performance metrics chart that you will download, complete, and upload. Reminder, save often. The last part of the application is the budget and budget narrative, which is worth 10 points. Here you'll download, complete, and upload a budget and budget narrative, using the Excel spreadsheet provided by CEJA. The budget and budget narrative should cover 12 months of programming and demonstrate cost effectiveness and clearly detail how you arrived at and calculated budget amounts. You'll also be required to acknowledge that funds will not be used to supplant existing federal, state, county, or local funds for the program, and then mark that as complete. And on this page, you'll see what the budget looks like in Excel. This is one of several tabs that you will go through and completely answer. So, briefly, allowable expenses must be reasonable, necessary, and allocable to the program. But possible uses that we would expect to see for ARI funding in the TTAD program are personnel, training subcontracts or subawards, travel, program supplies, data collection and analysis, and program evaluation. There are some prohibitive uses listed here and also in the Notice of Funding Opportunity instructions on the CEJA website. This is the page that you want to see after you've gone through each of those 7 forms and completed them and marking them as complete. You'll submit and get the submission verification. And this indicates to you that Amplifon has received all of the information and moved it over to us. So the application due date again, it's all required application materials must be submitted in Amplifon by 5 p.m. on May 20th, 2026 to be considered for funding. To apply, you'll go to this, this link, which is throughout the notice of funding instructions on the CJA website. Proposals will not be accepted by mail, fax, email, or in person, and incomplete applications will not be reviewed, and neither will late submissions. And this is very important because it's technology. Applicants are encouraged to submit all application materials at least 48 to 72 hours prior to the application, so that if any troubleshooting is needed, there's time to do it. Once your application has been submitted, ARI and CJA staff will screen the applications for completeness and qualification. Then they'll be moved to an expert panel for review and scoring. The maximum number of points is 100 and the minimum is 70. After scoring, the scores and other information from the review panel will be forwarded to the ARI Outreach Technical Assistance and Communication Committee of the Oversight Board to review and develop funding recommendations. And those funding recommendations will then go to the ARI Oversight Board for review and approval of awards. So, as I mentioned, CJA has a number of resources on their website, including a GATA page with various webinars about how to create a good application, but also a great deal of research to help provide context for your application. The ARI website, partner website to CJA's, also includes a great deal of information about our program for context, and perhaps most important is the Program tab, which has a map and program site descriptions of all of our grantees. So questions regarding this NOFO must be submitted to the following email address. Because of the competitive nature of the notice of funding opportunity, questions cannot be put towards a specific staff person, but instead must go through this general mailbox, cja.adultredeploynofo@illinois.gov. We'll be collecting these questions through 5 p.m. on May 14th, 2026, answering them and then posting those answers publicly so that all applicants can benefit from the information shared. Those responses, along with the questions, will be posted on the CJA website and on Amplifund connected to this notice of funding opportunity. Contact information is my name and title here, and I can be reached through that general email box with questions about this notice of funding opportunity. So once again, a reminder to apply for an ARI TTAD grant, please submit all required materials in Amplifund by 5 p.m. Central Standard Time by May 20th, 2026. And that will include the Uniform State Grant application completed in Amplifund, program narrative through different application forms completed in Amplifund, and then uploaded to Amplifund an implementation schedule, completed goals and performance metrics, and a budget and budget narrative using the Excel spreadsheet provided by CJA. I hope that you found this information helpful, and I thank you for your interest in Adult Redeploy Illinois.